Okay, I need these in front of me.
Okay.
Little Jim Beam.
You do what you gotta do.
Beam right there.
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Jimmy Beam Jr.
Jimmy Beam.
Jimmy.
And Jefferson's very small batch. Not a small batch, but a very small batch.
Ooh, it's a little wee batch.
One.
I don't know anything, do I, at this point?
No. You're all caught up.
I'm good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your Venmo's fast.
Well, their technology has come a long way.
Except for notes.
Yeah. You know what? I think the...
So Elton has
notes.
to fax his Venmo, which then he has to fill out a form and fax back.
Natalie makes me fill out a form in triplicate with in our carbon paper. We're out of carbon paper.
Payment technology.
Natalie's in the office.
Yeah.
Oh.
The Ven slow. All right, perfect.
Then slow. It's awesome.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right.
Count us in.
1, 2, and...
Okay. So we count down.
Okay. Why don't you
And
count
3.
us down?
Should we go backwards?
The 1 is silent. 3, 2.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Bourbon Boys, a podcast where guys get together to talk about bourbon, about the 4 P's of life: personal, professional, parenting, and family with a P, and everything that comes with being a dad. We aren't bourbon snobs, just a group of guys who like bourbon for what it is and how it tastes. Pretty darn simple. This is podcast 7, or in this case, 007, and I'm Kurt. And with me are my bourbon boys, Elton,
Kurt.
Krat,
Hello.
and Do.
Here we go.
All right. So tonight, guys, we've got 3 new bourbons to taste in front of me. First one is 114 Old Grandad, not specifically in this order. We have Little Jim Beam because it's in a little bottle, and we've got Jefferson's. I'm glad to be back with you guys as always to taste some great bourbon, spend the night together, or the evening, I should say. And
Where's this going?
So
not that kind of podcast.
Yeah. Okay.
Kurt.
Welcome back, Dave. So let's get started. All right. And which is up first, you guys? Where would you like to start?
So, Kurt, why are we drinking these bourbons?
Why are we?
Yeah.
Well, our friend Dew had a great idea. Episode 7, 007, and these are all bourbons that Mr. 007 drank in at least one of the movies.
Correct.
So.
And I always thought he was just a martini guy, but come to find out, he's a bourbon guy too.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
Cool.
International man of mystery and bourbon drinker.
That's right.
So what's the last Bond movie you guys have watched?
Skyfall, I think.
Skyfall.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's the last one I saw, too.
Is that the last one?
I think there's been one since.
Okay. I think I'm caught up.
Maybe it was the last
The
one.
one when they
It's
were
the
in
one
Mexico, right, during Dia de Muerta.
God
That's
bless
probably
you.
not Skyfall.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I was going to say the one with the helicopter in it, but I think they all have helicopters in them. So
Yep.
I'll go with Skyfall. I don't know.
Martins and helicopters.
I actually like the older ones better.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
Yep.
We did watch the part of From Russia with Love. I think it was the old Roger Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Not great TV or movies, but fun though. But
Yeah.
fun because we watched the Casino Royale remake last night as research.
That's a good one.
Research.
Yeah, as research, and yeah.
All right, so favorite Bond actor?
Well, James, of course. James Bond.
No, the favorite Bond actor.
I'll go Sean Connery. I'll take the easy route.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a classic.
Yeah.
I do like the older ones with Sean Connery. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really do.
What was something I couldn't get into the older ones, but the Daniel Craig ones I could get into. Maybe it was more action. I don't know.
They had, I think it was before Pierce Brosnan. There was probably the least expected Bond character. I've forgotten the guy's name now, but it was like, I don't know. It reminded me of somebody you'd see like on Days of Our Lives or some kind of soap opera. It was
Mr.
definitely
Bean.
not, it wasn't quite that extreme, but close.
Oh, the last one was Spectre.
Okay. Yeah.
Spectre. And then
Right.
there's No Time to Die is coming in 2020.
Cool.
So that's a franchise that just keeps going.
Well, it's owned by, the franchise owned. I'm using air quotes here by. Is it Ian Fleming's family?
Yeah,
Still
it is.
owns the rights and
Yep.
manages the production and everything else.
That's
Yep.
cool.
Yeah.
But isn't there something historic about the 007 in the new movie?
I don't know. Is there?
Yeah, look it up.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
You want to tell me what it is?
No,
Oh,
because I don't know if I'm right.
Yeah.
okay.
Let's get started with the
I'd
bourbon.
hate
Then
to
we'll
be
come
right.
back to that when he drops the phone. I think I know what you're Son of a bitch.
So what do we want to start with? I mean, we don't have to do them in order. So we want to start with Jefferson.
With Jefferson's.
Sounds
We already
like
got a
Elton
couple
Press.
pours.
By the way, liking the specs, man.
Thank you. I can't see squat.
You look really wise.
I feel wise.
That's fantastic.
All right, so we're going to start with the Jeffersons, and you guys are poured. So, thanks, Dave.
Yeah, this one, pour yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think part of the research that Dew had done on this was that James Bond drank Virginian Gentleman. So I went to the ABC store to look for Virginian Gentleman, and they did not have it. So instead, I went with the Gentleman from Virginia and got a bottle of Jefferson's.
Good call.
So
Well played. Very
One was
resourceful.
$21.95, and this one was significantly more than $21.95. But I figured this one we could drink and enjoy probably a little bit more so than Virginia Gentleman.
All right.
All right.
So,
Has anyone had Virginia Gentleman as a
No.
just a point of reference? No.
no, I was
All
telling
right.
Kurt it stood about an inch off the floor.
Oh,
Yeah, it was very, very, very low.
okay.
Um,
Different
so-
episode.
different episode, yeah.
Yes.
Kind of like Ancient Age. There you
It
go.
might
We
be.
got two of them, right?
We're getting there.
Yep.
We'll get to an under $10 bottle.
There you go.
They exist.
I can't wait.
$6.99. That's all I'm saying.
That's terrible.
So-
All right. So
So Jefferson's has been around since '97. Father-son team decided to start distilling and brought this out. I think the name, the guy said, honestly, I didn't have any marketing dollars, so I went with a name that people would recognize, had some historic value, and stood for tradition. So
Isn't that how
Jefferson's it was.
Eddie Murphy got elected in that movie?
Could be.
Yeah.
really,
I think his name was Jefferson in that movie.
Don't know.
all right.
I'll do some research.
Yeah.
We got a lot of movies to
We got a
watch.
lot of research to do.
I
All right.
thought this
I
was
like
a show about international men of intrigue and
Yes.
I'm sure Eddie
That's
Murphy's
us.
traveled internationally.
could sure.
I was coming to America.
Oh, yeah.
Right? He was in that.
All right. There you go.
Solid.
Yeah. So, anyways, they've got several different versions of Jefferson. They've got they've got a rye. They have one that is distilled in rum barrels.
Seen that one.
They have one that I believe is in port barrels, and then they also have Jefferson Ocean, which is kind of a clever thing where they put a bunch of barrels on a freighter and let the bourbon slosh around the barrel for a while to hopefully get more of the charry oak flavor out of the barrel just from washing the bourbon over the oak as the boat
Yeah.
rocks back and forth. So this is one of my favorites. I mean, it's just a good solid go-to bourbon.
It's really good.
Yeah, lots
is
of
really
lots of vanilla. If you guys
Okay.
can taste the vanilla and,
Yep.
and a little
Yeah.
bit of caramel.
Yep. Definitely get the camera. I don't have much on the nose though.
I don't
No.
It's
know.
hard for me to nail what that is.
For me, it's then on the nose. It's a lot of alcohol.
Do you get any butterscotch in the nose?
Yeah,
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that
Okay.
you say that,
Yeah. Right.
yeah,
It is suggestive.
you could have said Parmesan cheese.
It's coming next. I'm waiting for when that's obviously
Jim Beam Jr.
Jimmy. But
just a good
very-
sipping.
Yeah.
No,
Super
it's good.
smooth.
I remember one of our episodes we talked about what bourbon would you recommend to somebody that's never really had bourbon before.
Yep.
And I think this would be one of them. I mean,
I think it's
it's
a
not
good call.
harsh, it's not bitey, it's just super smooth.
Very, very smooth.
It doesn't linger with you very long at all.
Nope. It's kind of a quick finish.
Yeah. So I mean, there's times where you want something that's got a little bit more spice to it, and other times not.
Yeah. It sits on my tongue a little bit, I will say.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
In a good way. I mean, it's not in a bad way. But the flavor sits there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure though about the taste. Like you said butterscotch, but
I smell butterscotch, but
Yeah.
I taste more of the
it's
caramel.
vanilla, lots of
and
vanilla for
oak.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what's the excuse me? Do you
The
know what
mash
the mash
bill?
bill is on it?
I don't. I did not see that in the research.
Okay.
So
I would guess probably low on the rye,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
higher on the
definitely.
corn.
definitely
and-
high on the corn. It's pretty sweet.
And the smoothness, I think, is going to give you. It's going to come from that malted barley. So I think that I would probably guess that it's a little bit, in lockstep with the rye.
Yep.
What's the proof on it, Dave?
Gosh, I think it was 90.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not too high. I mean, you don't
No.
get the bite out of it.
No.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they have also saw they have a presidential small batch. It's supposed to be really good. And then they trying to remember what was the other one.
There's a Jefferson's Reserve.
Yep, that was one of the first ones that they did was the Jefferson
Mhm.
Reserve.
That's
Yep.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Ocean is an interesting one if you guys get a chance to try that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of clever.
Yeah,
it's a
But
novelty.
I think the distiller has a buddy that owned or owns a freighting company and literally just said, hey, it'd be kind of cool. Let's throw some barrels on here and see what happens.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
So
This is by far the most caramel flavor
mhm.
I remember in a bourbon, like sitting on your tongue.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I get a lot of caramel out of this, which is
Yeah.
good. It's,
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
the sweetness.
Yeah. So, maybe the James Bond that had Virginia Gentleman modern day would be drinking Jefferson's. I don't know.
You're right. I think you're right. If this was not bottom shelf, it surprises me that a James Bond character would have anything that is today bottom shelf. But
Yeah.
I think you're right. This feels like it'd be a contemporary upgrade to it.
Yeah.
And I like the twist you made. A gentleman from Virginia.
There you go.
But it's
Yeah, that was a good play.
it's good. It is good. And you were just in Virginia area.
Actually,
hanging out in
you
DC.
are correct. I was. We
Yeah.
were staying in Crystal City, which is over across from DC proper.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
Did you
place to
see
be.
any guys in trench coats sitting in the park, like waiting for somebody to have some kind of espionage-like conversation?
Dun, dun, dun. No, but I did go to the Spy Museum.
Ah,
Yeah.
perfect.
That
cool.
just
It's a
opened.
good town.
That
Good
just,
town for that.
That just opened in August,
Excellent.
and it's the new one, and yeah, it was pretty darn cool.
neat.
The building's
Mhm.
pretty amazing, and
That's fun.
I've been to the old one, so a lot of the content was similar, but it was done in different ways. What was cool is the company I used to work for actually built all the exhibits for the new one. So
Yeah,
Oh,
cool.
very
yeah, so it was kind of cool to see my my old company's work.
Was there any cool kind of old school technology in the Spy Museum? Gadgets?
Oh yeah, I mean,
It's very cool.
it is
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, they have, and apparently what I learned is that the stuff that they have, the collection,
Yeah.
is predominantly owned by one couple who has
Hmm.
collected this stuff over many, many years. And it's pretty cool. I mean, they have anything like the phone in the heel of a shoe, and it's
Go-Go Gadget
it's-
arms, things like that.
It is really cool. No, it is really cool, and they tell it from. I mean, it's obviously evolved because so many things have happened since the first one, but they tell it from all different perspectives. Heavy on the KGB and
Cold War, yeah.
CIA and the Cold War, but
Mhm.
then also up to modern day, like cyber attacks, and so they're addressing a lot of different things, and they do it in a really, really cool way.
That's cool.
So it was really well done. So I think there's 2 floors right now, but they have a third floor that is right now they're going to be adding. So they'll keep adding content over time. So they've moved into this pretty amazing building that they can grow into.
I wonder how they buy artifacts for the museum. I mean, there's got to be some. I mean, seriously, you got to
Yeah.
wonder if there's some cloak
Yeah.
and dagger behind that too. I mean,
You don't think they're getting with the flea market?
Yeah.
They just get there.
Maybe.
They just get there early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of it is on loan, I think you'd be surprised probably where some of this stuff shows up. But
That's
it was
interesting.
cool.
That's
So
fun.
if you're there, I would definitely recommend it to those listening and to those here. It's definitely worth a see.
We went to the first one, and it was 2009, and I had been traveling for an entire year. So I was on the road for over 250 nights, and we took the kids to DC. We stood in line and bought tickets, and then stood in another line and waited. And out of curiosity, I walked up to the front of the line because the line was at least 2 hours long, and I asked the one of the guys working there, who is just this gargantuan bouncer size guy in a black suit. They look like Men in Black, but on steroids.
kind of like Kurt.
Just like her. Yeah.
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 There you go.
So he was probably like 6'7", 6'8", 3 something. Just a big dude.
Just like me.
Yeah, it's kind of close, yeah. If I cross my eyes and there's two of you. Yeah. So I went up and I said, just we've got tickets. We're here. We're not trying to cut the line, but just out of curiosity, how long is this? And he was like, it's about an hour and a half, hour and 45. I was like, okay, why don't you do me a favor? And I had a receipt, and I wrote my name on the back of the receipt. And I said, when we come up here, just make a big deal about me being a spy. Because my kids don't know where I've been. They don't believe me that I've just been traveling the country for the year. And so he didn't wait until we got to the front of the line. He came back, and he walked past me, and then walked past me again. He's like, Agent Wood? And I was like, shh. He goes, Agent Wood, come with me. And he took us out of line, took us in the employee entrance, brought us up in this mirrored elevator, and dropped us into the middle of the exhibit. Like the doors open and we were in the exhibit and everyone's staring at us.
That's cool.
But the whole time up the ride, my kids were like, what is happening? And he's
meanwhile, everybody in line is like, there's a spy in here.
Oh my God. And he's playing up. He's like, when was the last time we saw each other? Where were we in? And he's just rattling off all these Eastern European cities. And I was like, yeah, I think it was that assignment that we saw each other. And he's like, yeah, well, have you talked to Agent so-and-so since then? And we just had this. He was fantastic.
It's wild.
And
that
my kids
cool.
they were just losing their minds. For years, they were convinced it was the truth.
Really?
Yep. So
That's
we
awesome.
We let them believe that for a while.
That's awesome.
But the people that work there are clearly they're into it and they're excited about.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
How kitsch it is.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
So
That's an awesome story.
It was a good time.
All right, so real quick on the Google search.
Yes, what'd you find?
The new 007 is female.
Oh.
A black female has been cast for the new 007 character in the new movie coming up.
Well, why is Daniel Craig still on the poster?
I don't know. I'm just telling you, Derek. Why do you have to complicate everything?
I'm just curious.
Bond's number is up. Black female actor is the new 007.
Brilliant. Who is it?
It says, while Daniel Craig is set to reprise his role as James Bond in the next film, the franchise is set for a shakeup, with reports claiming that a British actor, Lashana Lynch, has been cast as 007.
That's very cool.
That is very cool.
I'd like to see the handoff on that one.
Yeah, why can't you be 008? I don't know why you got to mess with a good
We're
thing.
running out of numbers?
Why can't you just embrace?
I'm kind of without.
All right, we're not going to get into this conversation.
Let's have another
No,
drink.
I think it's fine. It's a little bit of tradition here with 007.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Nobody said she was going to be 007 in the movie, so let's just wait and see what the movie says.
I thought that's exactly what you just said.
No, I'm just saying.
Pretty sure that's
Okay.
what he said.
No, did you not listen to what I said?
Probably
No, not really.
No.
Chances
Bond's-
are.
No, listen. Bond's number is up.
Okay. So for those of you who are listening to the podcast, the little button on the left will go back 15 seconds, and you can
You can see
help
if
us
Kurt
figure
was
out
really
if
talking.
we were right or not.
Oh, boy.
Well, whatever.
All right.
All right.
I like
Carry
it.
it on. I don't
I
care.
like
I'm just
it.
letting you guys know.
All right, that Jefferson's really good. I
Yeah,
like
it's
it.
good.
I like
It's
it.
good.
I'm
It
a
is
fan.
really good.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, let's go.
Where to now?
All right.
Let's do Jimmy
Where
Beam.
would Bond
Jim
go
Beam.
next?
Can you lift this bottle, Elton?
It's a little miniature bottle.
It's a little
I didn't want to
man.
overinvest after the Ezra Brooks debacle last week.
What size bottle is that?
This is
It's a little man bottle. Hold on, let me
It's a
finish
single
this.
pour.
It's a single pour. It's a 375 milliliters. It's sold for I think $8.
This is like an airplane bottle when you fly to Australia.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
right. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's exactly
Yeah,
right.
it's more than 3 ounces, unfortunately.
I'm going to pour a little wee snip.
Yeah,
Here we go.
have all
Little
you want.
Jimmy
Trust me,
size.
soldier. It'll be there. So Jim Beam also made a cameo in, or the drink did, in another Bond film. I cannot remember which one that was, but it does
yeah.
not matter because he drank in all of them, so we can pretend it was whatever we want. So obviously Jim Beam, one of the anchor families in bourbon in the U.S. I don't think there's many branches on the bourbon tree in the U.S. actually, but so a little bit of history. The Beam family arrived from Germany in like 1740. In the late 1780s, they relocated to Kentucky. the government was subsidizing people moving there and growing corn. Some of the leftover corn was then made into some bourbon, which, nice job, Jacob Beam. Actually sold the first bottle as Old Jake Beam Sour Mash in 1795. So here's a little bit of trivia. Apparently there were a lot of people brewing bourbon or distilling in Kentucky. If you guys had to guess, in the early 1800s, how many distilleries were there in Kentucky?
In what year?
In
Early 1800s?
Early 1800s.
I'm going to guess 325.
He's good.
324.
Okay, it's not the Price is Right.
I was thinking 100 would be a lot.
I was too, but the actual number is about 2,000.
Good Lord.
And I guess it was all
I beat you,
local.
Dave.
Yeah, it was all local stuff. So regardless of that, a little bit of trivia there for your next bar visit. So sold the first bottle in 1795. Jacob's son David actually renamed the bourbon Old Tub, which is interesting because that was the name of the distillery apparently. So it was Old Tub Bourbon, which grew in popularity. And then in 1894, this is where it gets to be more familiar, James Beauregard Beam, Jim Beam to his friends, took over the distillery from his father. So David Beam handed it off to Jim Beam. At that time, Old Tub was nationally known. So kind of one of the first national bourbon brands. And things went well up until 1920 when what happened? Prohibition shut them down. They had no medical licenses or any of that, so they actually closed the doors there. So 13 years later, they get to come back. They rebuild their distillery. And then in 1935, Jim Beam produced his first batch of post-prohibition bourbon. So that's where Jim Beam, he no longer owned the rights to the Old Tub name. And I was very intrigued by that. I cannot find out what happened or how he lost the rights to the Old Tub name, because they certainly had it heading into Prohibition. So don't know if they sold it off to try to get assets out of it, but I can't find anything on that. So if anybody knows that story, please let us know. I'm very curious about that for some unknown reason.
Is it possible that Old Tub owed a lot of money to people?
Very well.
And they just said, nope, it's not coming back, and neither is your money?
Yeah, just shut her down.
Yeah.
Because it
Neither
does
is your
actually
money.
reappear. So in 1935, when they came back, they sold their first new bottle under the name Colonel James B. Beam Bourbon. So it's still James
B.
Beam. But later in that year, his son, Jim Beam's son, he was getting up in years, refounded the distillery and actually named it Jim Beam and changed the label. So
this is what we got.
Since 1935, Jim Beam has been on the shelves across America.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Good
So
trivia.
here's an interesting thing, though. Jim Beam was apparently a bit of a paranoia. So after Prohibition, he actually took home a jug of the yeast strain every weekend. So if something happened at the distillery or whatever, they would have the original yeast strain to restart making bourbon.
It's pretty smart.
Yeah, I was going to say pretty good insurance policy. And
really.
Reading on the internet, so it must be true. Apparently, his
Thank you, Al Gore.
Yeah, thank you, Al. His great grandson still carries on that tradition today. So,
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's
that's
cool.
one way to protect the family assets is just take them home with you every weekend.
So I'm trying
That's
to think.
incredible.
There was another one we tasted a while back that they still use the original strain from the original bourbon. Do you guys remember which one that was?
It was,
It wasn't Russell's, was it?
nope, it may have been Blade and Bow with the cascading casks. Is that what you're thinking?
Okay.
I
Like
think
they took
so.
an original one?
Was
I
that the
can't remember.
stack? I think it was. It may have been Blaine, but it was the stack cast.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to figure out in my head how that worked.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is 80 proof. And Kretz shivering over there, so I'm not sure
It's
it's going
only
down
80.
smooth.
No,
It's
no.
80 proof. It's only aged 4 years. So remember, bourbons have to be aged
Yeah.
at least 2. A lot of what we drink is 6 to 8.
6 to 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is only 4. The mash bill is favorable for what I like: 75 corn, 13 rye, and 12 barley. So given all these shivers that are going around the
It
table,
is giving me the shivers.
is it just unfair because we had Jefferson before this?
Yes, we were going to go straight downhill.
Yeah,
There is no
we
doubt.
should have stopped it.
I mean, there's nothing
I
wrong
don't
with
know
it.
though. I mean, I don't mind it actually. I'll be honest with you. To me, it's got a little less of a bite. There's a bit of smoothness to it. I don't think it's horrible. But listen, Dave, you weren't there last time either, so you didn't taste.
Yeah, we've seen the bottom of the mountain.
Shit we drank last week.
And I mean,
but
at the end of the day, I don't know that there's a whole lot of straight bourbon drinkers drinking Jim Beam.
Maybe not.
Well, that's true.
I mean,
it's
you think it's more of a mixer?
Yeah, and I think I think it's a fine mixer.
Yeah,
Right?
and I did go straight all the way back to the original Beam. I think we could do a whole episode on some of the iterations that they've done off this, which would be a kind of cool exercise.
Do you know how many they have off of this right now on the shelf?
Probably a dozen.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah.
And just different like cask strength or
And flavors.
Flavor,
yeah, they do some flavoring.
Oh,
so,
do they? Like an apple and honey and okay.
Yep.
Not ready for those yet.
No. So
But,
one thing on the nose on this one, I did actually get a little bit more oak than I expected, which I kind of like.
And for 4 years.
Yeah.
Like it's pulling up short of
Yep.
most of the ones that we're tasting in the 6+.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
also,
it comes from a little barrel because it's in a little bottle.
That's right.
Small sized.
a very tiny distiller.
Very tiny distillery.
A wee little distillery
That's
in
right.
Kentucky.
A little man with his little barrel producing little bottles of
Is it
bourbon.
around the neck of a Nordic dog?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Can't be a Saint Bernard. That's too big.
Yeah, right.
Maybe that's how they get the oaky flavor out of 4 years. It's because the dog is just sloshing that thing around.
All right.
Lots of
And
fetch.
drooling. Yes.
Lots of fetch.
Okay.
That works.
Are you trying to rein this in? Or
I am. I'm trying. I mean, I know I brought it out there, but I'm trying to bring it back in. So.
All right. I smell like peat moss. Or stall.
That's on my
Horse
shoe. I
stall.
put that in the yard.
Seriously, there's like a barn smell to it.
Well, now you're ruining it.
Well,
I definitely get more alcohol smell
Yeah.
on it, like a quick evaporation rubbing alcohol.
But do you smell the barn?
I'm not getting barn.
Okay.
I can see where you could
honestly,
get there.
I honestly hear.
Maybe I
what
should ask a Southern boy. Are you smelling barn?
Okay, will you stop interrupting me?
Don't.
I hear what you guys are saying.
I have before, but not right now.
But I actually don't think it's that bad. And to be honest with you, every time I see Jim Beam, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that. That's such a commonplace bourbon. It's not intriguing to me. But I don't think it's horrible. But it's probably not. That's certainly not my favorite. But
Yeah.
I think you guys are being a little crude.
No, I can see it as a mix. I don't know if I would sit down and pour, 2 fingers of this and just.
No. Mm-mm.
No, I'm not feeling that.
Yeah.
What's the proof was 80, so that's pretty low.
Yeah. That's an efficiency play now.
I was gonna say they would
That's
probably
right.
just cut that.
Well,
thing.
get ready for the big dog because you got 114 coming up.
Yikes!
Granddad.
So I looked this one up, and it was in The Living Daylights, which was 1987, and that is with Timothy Dalton. Was that who you're thinking of, Dave?
No.
After
No,
like
even
before before
it wasn't Timothy Dalton. There was
Okay.
I think there was somebody even before him, and maybe it was one movie.
Okay. This one is about a British secret agent, James Bond, helps KGB officer defect during his symphony performance, and during his debriefing, the KGB officer reveals that a policy of assassinating defectors has been instated by the new KGB head.
That's a bad day.
Yes, but as Bond explores this threat, a counterplot surfaces involving a shady American arms dealer and a pair of Russian assassins. Makes sense.
Yeah. And everybody's listening wish they would have fast forwarded.
Right.
So the button
Or you
on
can
the
rent
right
the movie.
will jump ahead 15 seconds.
Thank God for editing. You're
So-
talking about editing me out.
No.
Not all the time.
So has anyone been to, with this scene happening, has anyone been to Russia?
I have never been to Russia.
Kurtron, you're probably closest.
Close. The closest has probably been, Czechoslovakia.
I'd say it's probably pretty close.
Yeah, I've been to Norway.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so have I.
So I think that's.
So Czechoslovakia, we think, is the closest?
I don't know if it's the closest, but
I think it probably is.
I think Norway is pretty close. Though. I mean, if
Is it?
you look at the proximity to the Scandinavian countries, they're pretty close geographically. I just can't visualize it.
I'll play dumb American and look on my phone.
I mean, I lived in the Netherlands for a year, so that's just beyond Denmark, and Denmark is really close to Russia as well.
What were you doing in the Netherlands?
Drinking beer and smoking cigarettes. No, I was.
That's a good
And
way to
listen-
I
and li-
was.
and listening to The Cure.
Yeah, right. Well, it was about that time. No, I was. I got out of high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, so I went abroad as an exchange student with AFS.
I did too.
Oh, that's right.
Hmm.
Yeah, I spent a year there in a town called Doetinchem, and lived with an amazing family, which I still am very much in touch with today. In fact, I'm going to be going and seeing them in a couple of weeks.
So you guys
That's
are
awesome.
heading to Portugal soon, aren't you?
We are. Well, we're going to the
Well,
Netherlands
Portugal.
first.
Oh, you're going to the Netherlands.
Yep,
Okay.
for a 50th birthday party for my host brother Guido, and then we're heading down to Portugal. But yeah, I spent a year there, and it's kind of become a second home for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, amazing family. Really had an amazing year there. Love that country.
That is a great country.
Absolutely love that country.
You taking brother some bourbon, I assume, for a gift?
Good call.
That's actually
Seriously,
a
dude,
really
you hadn't even thought about
good idea.
What about a T-shirt?
Yeah, I was going to say, I know a place where you can get a really
Yes.
cool T-shirt.
Yeah, just in time for the
I
holidays.
think that's a really great idea.
It should be.
I might have to
Can
bring 2
you-
bottles because my host father likes to
Yeah.
drink that kind of stuff too.
I think you should.
I think we know where you can find them.
That's.
That'll be tonight's last call.
Can I get a discount?
Yeah, I got some Ezra Brooks. You can just take the
Hey,
rest.
don't try taking last
I
call
know,
over.
I'm just giving suggestions.
Dude, back
It's fine.
off.
I don't want it. I
Back
don't want it.
off.
It's all you. I like that though. All right,
Yeah.
so you've been to Norway. I just pulled up the map.
Yeah.
So Norway is closer to Russia than Amsterdam.
Okay.
And
What about Czechoslovakia?
Yeah, I think Czechoslovakia is the win.
Okay.
I'm looking at an older map here, so it's probably not that anymore. Yeah, I think that's going to be the win there.
Okay.
Yeah. I think my closest was Budapest
Mm.
in Hungary. But yeah, there's something about Moscow and St. Peter's Square that I like to see at some point, but I don't know. I'm just not feeling like it's ready yet.
Yeah. I think it's different for us. You know, my family I lived with over there, they've been to Russia a number of times.
Okay.
But I'm not sure in the climate that we're living in right now, it's a place that I'd probably want to put my foot down on.
Have you guys ever read
tricky.
Red Notice?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
Fascinating book by the guy who did when they tried to make Russia a capitalist market.
Hmm.
He was a hedge fund guy.
Hmm.
I forgot his name, Bill something. But anyway, it talks about how they value the companies, and he came in as a Westerner and was totally raking in the cash. Got in Gorbachev's bad side. Fascinating story. I'll bring the book, but
Wow.
topic for another night. But Red Notice, if anybody out there likes to read some real life spy stories.
That's
Very
crazy.
Yeah,
bonded.
that's
It's
cool.
cool.
And you
Yeah,
said
that's
that
cool.
was during Gorbachev's reign or
Yep.
years?
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch The Americans?
I think so.
Yes.
It's a great show.
Yeah.
What's that on? Netflix or?
No.
Oh, you know
Well,
what?
I think it was on Netflix. Either Netflix or Amazon, but I think it was on one of the maybe USA.
I didn't watch The Americans. I watched The American Story, which is a... No. But it's
Which is not the Americans.
Yeah.
What about American Pie?
All right, I'm done with you people today.
Kurt would like to redact that.
Anyways.
Yeah, go ahead. Just edit it,
So
Derek.
what was it about?
No, I mean it's a show about that takes place in the Cold War. Well, actually, it's probably more like the 70s and early 80s, but it's a Russian family that was placed in the United States, acting as Americans, and they were spies. And it's a really cool show.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So
Is it a series or just?
yeah, it's a series.
Okay.
It goes on like I've forgotten how many seasons.
That's
Quite a
very
few. Yeah. Anyways. So
All right. So, take a break.
yeah.
Okay.
Let's take a break.
All right, guys, let's take a break.
Let's do it.
And we're back.
Thanks.
I think we know, but no break.
I knew had all this intro stuff. You didn't give me
And
the. You
I'm
didn't give me the
back.
text for that.
All right.
So no. So we're back. So so we've had Jefferson so far.
That was really good.
Little
I like
Jim.
it.
Little Jim Beam.
Little Jim-
yeah, I
Jimmy.
see it, Alta.
Jimmy
You don't
Miller.
have to point to it. Put your glasses back
it.
on.
I'm a fan.
So
sassy tonight.
Yep.
Sassy Kurtron.
So our last one for the night is 114 Old Granddad.
So old granddad was in Live and Let Die. Oh God, this is strong.
Well, it's 114 proof, Derek.
All right.
Good Lord.
I skipped ahead.
Yeah, you also drank the whole glass.
No, Alvin gave me a little.
Okay.
A little
Give
overflow.
a baby
All
pour.
right. Well, you guys sniff and sip and do whatever you got to do. I'm going to tell you a little bit
All right,
about
tell
this
us
one
about
because
Good Lord.
so I'm going to try to move with this pretty quickly. There's a lot of cool background on this one, but it's going to take us back to Jim Beam. So
Dear God.
I'm getting a lot of dear gods
we need
and
to
squinting.
let this
yeah.
thing live and let die.
But here's the deal. We knew this one was going to be tough, but let's go. Okay, so James Beam. So it's all tied to Jim Beam. So
Okay.
and I'm like I said, I'm going to go pretty quick through this one because the history is pretty familiar. But obviously, James Beam started in the 1700s, and obviously went through a series of things. But Old Granddad specifically is distilled by the Jim Beam plant in Claremont, Kentucky. So, where we find most of them.
The roots.
The brand actually though was created by Raymond B. Hayden. So if that rings a bell to you, and it was after his grandfather, who was Meredith Basil Hayden.
Oh.
So the Basil Haydens we've had before. There's
Very
a
good.
relationship here to this one. So
Actually, we haven't.
This guy must have been estranged from Basil.
We haven't talked about Basil Hayden, have we?
We have not yet,
No.
I don't think.
All right, so
no, we haven't
we've
actually.
all
Now that
had
you
it,
say
but-
that, yeah, we've all had it. It's one of my faves.
It's
so
really good.
I really do like it.
Super easy go-to
Yeah.
bourbon,
And this
Right.
is practically the
Yep.
same thing.
Yeah,
but not really.
but not really. In any event, okay, your guys are killing my story
No,
here.
go.
So in any event, he was a very well-known distiller in his time. And if you look at the bottle, actually, that's a picture of Basil Hayden on the front of that because it was named after him as a grandfather. So, Old Basil Hayden, i.e., Old Granddad and what is called Old Overholt are both now owned and distilled by the Beam Suntory brand. So I'm going to touch on the Suntory thing because Jim Beam is actually now owned by a Japanese company, which is called Suntory, and they own a whole slew of brands from vodka to gin to bourbon to other kinds of spirits. And their corporate headquarters now are in Chicago, Illinois, in the Merchandise Mart. And but so I'm not going to go through the whole story on this one, but a lot of commonalities here. Obviously, the Claremont, Kentucky. But here's the thing: Prohibition, the company produced medicinal whiskey, so they were able to. The Hayden family was able to kind of keep producing at that time. And at that time, they had facilities in Cincinnati, Frankfurt, but also produced Old Crow, Old Overholt, and Old Taylor. And then they were sold, and they went through a series of different cells. So this company has really gone through like cell after cell after cell, and they landed with Suntory. Okay, you guys are all looking at me, so I'll speed it up.
A lot of
No,
old.
you're good. Yeah, the brand
No, it is
director
a lot
really
of
liked the word old.
It's like a theme here.
They'll pay more for it. Just put old in front of it.
Yeah,
Put old from it.
there's only two now. So, but here's one thing I thought you would find interesting, Elton. So Suntory actually acquired about 20 brands back in 2005, and they've now turned into one of the largest producers of whiskey in the international market. March of 2016, actually, the company announced that it was moving its headquarters to Chicago, which I just told you guys, and the Chicago Cubs and Beam Suntory announced a long-term sponsorship deal in 2017. Which is making Beam the official spirits partner of the Cubs at Wrigley Field.
Well, good for them. As a Cardinal fan, I don't like the Cubs, but
I get it.
as a baseball fan, that's
Oh
true.
my
That's
God.
good trivia.
It's a baseball fan thing. I knew you were into baseball, and you're trying to go to all the different
17 is a good
stadiums.
year.
So.
Hey guys, let's pull back a little bit from beating up on Kurt.
All
He's
right.
having a hard
Seriously, I'm
time.
trying to bring some
I do
good
like-
stuff. Like I was thinking about the guy, and he just
mean,
slams me
I
down.
do
That's
appreciate
really-
the baseball, right? That is kind
In
of
any
cool.
event, all right.
Yeah, it's typically my job to beat up on Kurt.
All right,
That's right.
sorry.
So
Screw all of you. So,
different podcast.
it's really funny because I read a review of this one, and it kind of cracked me up because it reminded me of last week a little bit. But they talk about how this bourbon has hair on its chest. So obviously, by the looks on all of your faces when you're
Yeah.
trying this one, it's
I
certainly
think it's got hair on the bottle.
yeah.
I think I now have hair on my back.
They're known for their above average of rye, and I'll go through
Yes, yeah, definitely
the
rye.
mash pretty quickly here. It's very evident on the nose, with some faint hints of orange peel and spice. Okay.
And a little bit of Bengay.
Yeah. Does say that the bourbon commands all of your attention and then some.
Yes.
That is the most accurate.
Okay. The bourbon does seem
Into
to
my
enjoy
lungs.
a few extra minutes out of the bottle as it becomes a bit easier to go down.
Oh, maybe that's what's missing.
Yeah, right. That's why I poured it early, but
I'll put
obviously
it
you guys
down.
just went right at it.
That's why the mouth on
This
is so big around.
maybe this might be the problem. This is a manly to the point bourbon that prides
Ah.
itself
I like it.
from separating the men from the boys. So that's all I'm gonna say.
It's a damn fine bourbon right there.
114 proof, so pretty strong. Has a pretty good bite, but they classify it as full bodied, nicely proofed, budget price. It was only $26.99 for the bottle. And they claim that it is a must-have bottle on your shelf.
So is this a Roger
I
Moore?
disagree.
Is this a Roger Moore bourbon? Or is this a Sean Connery bourbon?
This
is
it was in
that,
Live and Let Die.
Let me get that for you.
I will say this is not a great bourbon, so by any means, but I will tell you it does have a very full taste, and it's got a really nice long finish.
It does.
It does have a nice long. If you can get past the initial burn,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
it does stay with you, and it's got a nice finish. But the first 3/4 of the journey are
Mm-hmm.
no bueno.
So very good, Alton, because the description here is the long finish reveals almost a candied aftertaste with red hot cinnamon being very present.
Oh,
By
And that's actually what I'm
Okay.
tasting.
Yeah.
It's almost like, you
The Red
remember the
Hots.
Red Hots candy?
Yep. I'll give you that.
So it definitely has a burn. I actually like the taste of this, though, personally.
Okay. I'm not with you on that one.
No, I'm with.
That's fair.
But that's. I mean, I didn't really let it sit out, so
Yeah.
I'm letting it sit right now because I just can't do another one of them.
Yeah.
1973 Roger Moore.
Yeah, this just doesn't seem
Mhm.
like something Roger Moore would drink.
Yeah,
It's strong.
it's in it.
It's a man's
Yeah.
bourbon.
Yeah.
I do not like the wide mouth bottle though.
Does it remind you of Mickey's malt liquor?
It's funny that you
oh my
say
God,
that.
the ditch.
There really is nothing interesting about the bottle.
Nope.
So
No.
but if you think about the name, there is something a little bit reminiscent about the old granddad and the medicinal qualities of the bottle.
So Basil Hayden's grandson or great grandson.
God, did you listen to the story?
I'm part of it, obviously. I got it. I got it.
So for those who are listening on podcast, the button on the left,
Yeah.
hit it like 7 times. You know, go back
Exactly.
to the beginning of the story.
The brand was created by Raymond B. Hayden and named after his grandfather. So the grandson
Grandson.
created it.
I was trying to get back to some recipe correlation because once you
Mhm.
guys try Basil Hayden or we talk about that,
Yeah.
it's nothing like that.
Nothing at all.
That's what I was trying to figure
That
out.
might actually be a pretty good segment, which is genealogy. Like
Yeah, that would
here's
be
one
cool.
family branch.
You look at Beam and Booker's and Baker and
Yep, and then just be
Follow it
like,
through.
this is where they got kicked off. The
and
The
I'll tell you,
farm.
who was it? Kurt,
Okay.
you were saying earlier about
That's a
how
good
incestual the bourbon tree is,
Mhm.
if you will. I mean, you really
Not many
could.
branches, you're right.
Yeah.
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 There's a lot.
But I mean, the thing is
Roll
that
faster.
the thing is, so this is a 114 proof, but there is an old granddad 80 proof and 100 proof as well.
Oh, maybe the 80s more our style.
It may just be cut.
No, but I mean, I think what could be interesting is to try all three together and
Yeah.
see the distinguishing factors between the different flavors versus within the proof, right?
I might
All
try a
right.
different brand.
Write
and
down
different
podcast.
groups.
No, that's cool.
I'm willing to try a different
Okay.
group.
Podcast
Right.
77 will be the
What-
tour of the old granddad family.
So-
All right.
This is an Ezra for you, is what you're saying.
So,
Yeah.
so how far or how close to the floor was this?
This was
About
about
26
midway up
bucks,
shelf.
right?
It
About
was
midway up the
20
shelf?
It was
Yeah.
like $27, so
Yeah.
it's not. I wouldn't call it a
Higher
cheap
price point
bottle,
than
but
the
it's not
Beam.
expensive.
Interesting.
More
Yeah.
expensive than the Beam.
Yeah. I'm just still struggling with the Roger Moore thing. I don't think of Red Hot Cinnamon when you think about casting and spies, and
Yeah, I wonder how that got worked
Roger
in
Moore.
back then.
I'm sure it
For
was
product
like
placement.
early integration stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I was reading a little bit about Roger Moore, or not James Bond and bourbon, and the question was, well, it seems like he would be more of a Scotch guy, right? And the author of the article kind of wrapped around, well, it was kind of Ian Fleming, the creator, putting his own spin on
So
it.
he was a bourbon guy.
So apparently Ian Fleming at one point in his life, late 40s, early 50s, was in bad health. So he decided to do this based on the advice of some friends. He cut back about 50 cigarettes a day. He didn't stop smoking. He cut back about 50 cigarettes a day.
Took 50
Good for
out.
him.
He took 50 out. You know, hey.
You got to start somewhere.
And started drinking.
Baby step. Well, and then he switched. They advised him to switch to heavier liquors that would counteract the some of the carcinogens. They were saying that the darker, stronger liquors like caused your muscles to expand versus contract. And I swear to God, I read this on the internet, so
That's
it's got to be
funny.
true.
Yeah.
Had to be.
Thank you, Al Gore.
All my muscles are contracting right now.
But that was why they were like, that's where bourbon
My lungs
came
just
into
went.
it. So,
That's interesting.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he came out like, I swear to God, it was like 50 in the article. So
Yeah. Wow.
That's a prescription
That's
I want.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's a doctor I want.
Yeah. That's incredible.
So you guys asked me about travel, like
Yeah.
So Elton, you were just in Spain with your son not too long ago.
Like 3 years.
Oh, that wasn't 3 years ago.
2?
2.5.
Yeah.
And that's really close to
Spring
3.
it was just like it was yesterday.
Maybe it
though.
was when Elton told me the story because he wasn't talking to me 3 years ago. So
It could have been.
Feelings.
that's right. Nothing more than feelings.
I'm going back to Jefferson.
I'm gonna finish my one.
And you did Spain and Gibraltar.
Yes, we did.
Right.
Yeah, we came into Barcelona and then kind of toured, west, southwest, across the country. Made a jog over to Gibraltar, finished up in Madrid, and headed out from there. So I think we
Great
did like 10 cities in 8 days. Wow. It was a great trip.
Did you feel like an international
moving
man of
right
mystery?
When you're moving that quick, I think you would be. Yeah.
Gibraltar.
There's a mystery follows me everywhere.
That's cool.
That's
cool.
That's what Natalie tells
The
us.
bourbon thief.
That's right.
International bourbon thief.
And
So-
Dave, you lived abroad. You
I
lived
did.
you lived all over the place.
Yeah. I lived in Italy for about 1.5 years and Saudi Arabia for 2.5.
Man.
And then we traveled like any spare moment we had.
Yeah,
My
of
parents
course.
had us either in a station wagon with camping gear or in an airplane flying somewhere.
That's awesome.
So
Saudi
we did a lot.
Arabia, that had
We
to
did
be
a lot.
cool.
Yeah. So my dad worked for an international construction company.
So he says.
So he says.
Dun,
So
dun,
that's
dun,
where
dun,
this is where the
dun,
story's
dun,
going.
dun.
That's Mission Impossible.
This
Oh,
is
that's
where.
right.
Oh.
So
Oh God, I can't get
it is the
anything
same.
right. Why do you guys put up with
That's
me?
all right.
Sorry.
So my dad was in international construction. So
Yeah, I
that's
heard
why we
that
traveled
part.
so much. Yeah, until
Okay.
you interrupted me. But it's the same company my grandfather worked for, and my grandfather was a fluent speaking German.
Old granddad? Did you call him that by
Yep.
any chance?
So no, I called him Papa.
He lived to be
But anyway.
114 years old.
So pulling together I'm pulling together the old granddad
I can see you
thread
tugging on that thread.
with travel and international man of mystery, but we speculate that my grandfather may have been a spy.
Oh, come on.
At
Really?
the front door.
So he traveled
more.
extensively. So like
so
280 days out of the year, he was on the road all over the world. Spoke fluent German and had top secret clearance through the State Department all during World War II.
Brilliant.
Wow.
He carried a little Minox camera with him wherever he went
For mementos.
from Mementos,
Yes.
which I'm not really sure where you get that film.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's
Eckerd.
okay.
But he did some really pretty incredible things and was in some really pretty bizarre places like Libya and building state departments and things like that. And so my dad often wonders whether or not he had some kind of connection with the government, because the chances of somebody having that level of clearance and doing what he was doing in World War II as a fluent second generation German,
Wasn't traveling that much. Absolutely. Yeah.
pretty
That'd
slim.
It'd show up on a few radars.
Yeah. So, anyways,
Very cool.
yeah,
That is brilliant.
Thank God you've been back long enough to get your accent back.
yeah. There you go.
So you've lost the Saudi Arabian accent.
Yeah, when we got back from
Okay, but-
Saudi, I actually spoke like I was British because all the kids were, for the most
really?
part, either Germans or
That answers
Brits.
a lot.
Yeah.
He's always talking with that stiff upper lip. That's pretty cool, though, I have
Yeah.
to say. But see, now the thing is, you could be a spy and we wouldn't even know it.
Nah,
I
can't keep a secret.
I don't think he has
to save my
time.
life. Yeah, and I don't.
I
have
think
time.
it's Sarah. She's doing all her photography.
That's right.
That's pretty brilliant.
Yeah.
Did you guys chase that story any further? Like, is it?
Not
what
really.
What other things would you want to know?
There's tons of photos out there of him with. So let me back up. During the war, he ran the shipyard in Brunswick, Georgia, and employed about 15,000 employees.
Wow.
And they built Liberty ships.
Okay.
And so they would release a Liberty ship, and I've forgotten how many they built. It was in the hundreds, but there'd be U-boats off the coast of Georgia.
Yep.
And again, he knew when these ships were going to be released, and you had all these diplomats come down, senators and whatnot, and they would christen the ship for the senator's wife. And there's all these really cool black and white photos of him standing with these, military and politicians and whatnot. And interestingly enough, the ship that was christened after my grandmother was sunk right off the coast of Georgia. So they built the thing, and it was his shipyard, and they just sunk it right out there. So, but yeah, no, we never really dug into it.
You never let him live that down, did you?
Yeah.
No.
On purpose?
That's the real meaning of you sank my battleship.
Yeah. It was a
That is really cool.
Liberty ship, yeah.
Liberty
That's really
ship.
cool.
Sorry. Okay.
That's pretty awesome.
Doesn't have the same ring to it, but yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like living in Saudi Arabia?
Hot.
How old were you at that time?
Oh, Derek. 7, 8, 9.5.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It was cool. I mean, it was...
It's probably a different place back then, too, though.
It was. It
'Cause that was
still...
a long time ago.
Yeah, it was still very conservative. I mean, there was no alcohol, so
Or motor vehicles?
we wouldn't be doing this. No, there were motor vehicles.
Oh, okay.
But my dad and all of his buddies, they had brewing competitions, and so they all brewed homebrew because they couldn't get any beer.
Seriously?
Oh yeah, and it was
That's
like
so cool.
ridiculously illegal and dangerous to be doing.
Oh, my God.
They would also bottle grape juice and let it ferment.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the hangovers those guys had.
We tried that in college.
I think we did that at camp.
Yeah. And they used to always joke that you'd be at a cocktail party and somebody would have smuggled in like a bottle of gin or something from the States.
Yep.
And a fly would land in the drink, and you'd grab the fly and you'd suck all the liquor out of it and throw it on the floor.
Okay.
Because it was
Nice.
that in demand.
That's a man's
But,
man.
but yeah, it was cool.
I bet
It
he
was
drank
cool.
old granddad.
He probably did.
He didn't even cry about it.
It was cool, but we
I'm not crying.
That's right. It's the bourbon talking.
Yeah. So we, I remember when we were living in Saudi, my parents sat us all down at the kitchen table, and there was this big package that had shown up, and we opened it up, and it was from the Volvo factory in Gothenburg, Sweden.
Oh.
And we sat at the table as a family and picked out what color interior we wanted and what color exterior,
great.
and we basically built a car and wrote a check and put it in an envelope and sent it back to Sweden.
Come on.
And from there we flew
And waited.
It's like Stitch Fix for cars.
and then, so then this was like at the end of our tour, if you will, in Saudi. We flew to Africa and did a safari for I think 3 weeks.
My God,
And then
that's cool.
from there we went to Sweden and saw the car roll off the showroom floor.
That's crazy.
And went. Dad asked where's the closest camping store, and we went and picked up a tent and sleeping bags for all of us and a stove, and then we drove through Europe for the next month.
Oh my God.
And then put the car on a container and shipped it home. And
What model?
incredible.
What model was it?
it was a yellow 240.
Nice.
Well, they called it the 245 because it was a wagon.
Yeah.
With poop brown interior.
Perfect.
It was an awesome car.
Good choice.
But I mean,
that
just
thing
the-
is
the
probably
memories.
still going today.
No,
Like,
it
that is
got,
a
it got
tank.
T-boned.
No.
Yeah, I got my international sister, my Dutch sister, Kurt.
Those Dutch, they're crazy.
She was driving it
Wow.
in Winston-Salem, and it got slammed.
Oh man.
So
My oldest son's first car was a 240.
the bricks.
I think it's
that's what they call them. They call them
absolute
bricks.
tank.
That's what Elise wanted.
Yeah.
Absolute tank.
David almost got one for
Yep.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
That's
that is
cool.
awesome. I
Yeah,
love
but
that story.
That's
Lots-
a cool
lots of
story.
travel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Love
that's
that story.
that's
Lots of
really
travel.
cool. That's really
I
cool.
love it. That's pretty cool. All right.
All
So
right,
you got a trip coming up?
I do have a trip coming up. Yep,
You guys,
we are.
Any trips coming up for you guys?
I'm going to Spartanburg, South Carolina this
I
weekend.
hear it's beautiful.
How's
this
that?
time of
Sparkle City, baby. Yeah,
Okay.
Krispy Kreme, spice, sugar and spice.
I'll be driving.
Beacon.
I'll be driving by your favorite
yeah,
Krispy Kreme.
You lock it up. You lock it up.
Fully cultured. Fully cultured.
Oh, he's part of the family now. He's paid enough taxes and
Yeah, I was
stuff.
going to say. I think
Yeah.
I bought my way into
Yeah.
it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. All right, Kurt.
All right, what do you think, guys?
Good conversation.
Yeah, it was a good conversation.
One really good bourbon.
I'll go 1.5.
I'm going back to my Jefferson.
I'm
gonna
kind of
finish
with
this
I'm kind of with
114.
you, Alton. To be honest with you, like I'm gonna call it 2. I'm gonna take a half of each of these second
Yeah, all right,
ones
that's
and
fair.
a whole on the Jeffersons.
No,
but
That's fair.
I swear the old granddad is something old granddad rubs on his joints to keep him from aching. It's rough.
Once you get, like I said, the last 25%, the home stretch with that is really good. Or not really good. It's good.
Yeah, but
good
you
enough.
In what?
you got to
I
slog
know.
through the 75%
Yeah.
to get there.
yeah.
yeah,
so
I mean,
the
they said
first-
you gotta let it sit. You
Yeah,
know,
the first
it's like a good
75
glass of
yards are
wine.
rough, but yeah, the 25 minutes.
There's some reason
Derek's not buying it.
There's some reason the top of the
been
bottle
sitting.
of this thing is so wide as to like let it.
I think
vent
it,
or something. I don't know.
I think it blew off.
There could
Yeah.
be true. Look at
Yeah.
the size of that cork, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary.
So listen, we're at last call, right?
Last
And
call.
so we've come to that part of the show, and with our last call, we are going to create a scenario,
Ooh.
and it's going to entail people and places and a situation. And tonight the scenario is this: so you are 007.
Bum, bum,
Alton?
bum, 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 bum.
There you go. So you
That's
get it
the-
right. I know. Thanks.
That's
Thanks. Talk
We'll
about
work on
salt
it.
in the wound. So you are 007. You're on a yacht in Sardinia, Italy.
Sardinia.
Sardinia, that too. And
He lived there.
you are being approached by a female Russian spy
Russian.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
trying to seduce you.
What's her
What do
name?
you pour? Yavatska.
You keep looking at Alton. Is this question for him or is it?
I looked at Derek when I said
You
that.
guys can
Oh.
play too.
So, you're 007. Yavatska, the Russian spy, is
Ooh.
approaching you on your yacht. What do you pour?
Of these three or just in general?
Of these
It's
three.
got to be these three, right?
I just want to
All right.
I just want to reread something. This is a manly to the point bourbon that
Do-
separates
do
the
I-
men from the boys.
Do I have to drink this with her?
Yes. It's the whole point, Derek.
Well,
You don't say, "Hey, thanks, Yavatska, for the pour. I'll see you later."
no, I'm just. Oh, okay.
Is Sarah in the same country?
No, David.
Okay.
No, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's-
She's on a shoot somewhere across the world, somewhere
Okay,
else.
good. Just checking. Huh.
But wait a minute. That means we have significant others, though?
Oh my God! Seriously, why is it when Derek does a last call, you guys are just like, "Hey, that's cool," and you go right through it? I get 110 questions.
I think we're still recovering
my
from
wife
the
around?
the Portuguese John.
Yeah, right. So just,
right,
okay.
but let me hold on a second.
right,
So
yes.
I'm talking through this with my wife tonight. I'm like, hey,
This one?
I'm
This-
like, hey,
okay.
help me come up with an idea. She's
Brilliant.
like, well, are you 007? I'm like, no, it's a scenario. Okay, I said, yeah, so it's 007.
Perfect.
Well, what would 007 be doing in Italy? I'm like, okay,
Casino
you know what? This just
Royale?
isn't going to work.
Well,
so
Liz hasn't listened to an episode yet
Like
either.
Como?
Quantum Solace.
anyway,
Yeah.
do I need
Yeah.
to repeat the story?
No, I
got
got
it.
it. I got it.
Okay.
We're clear.
You taking it, champ?
Crystal clear.
Who you got to do?
I'm going to, because she is a Russian spy, I'm
Mhm.
going to go for the hardest, nastiest stuff and try to get information from her. So I think the fastest way to get that is this 114 Old Granddad. I don't like it myself, so I'm going to pour that with the hopes that she will reveal more of her secret plans to me.
Okay.
I'm not trying to entertain her because that would be a totally different bourbon. That's what I'm going with. I'm using it as a weapon.
I'm using it as a weapon in a different way because I don't want to have two drinks. So here's the 114, sweetie. There's no way she's going to ask for a second pour. So what do we do next? A nice walk on the beach, Dave. That's what I'm going to do.
By the way, I don't think you want to call Yavatska sweetie.
Yeah,
Dave?
That's fantastic.
Did Alton really answer the question?
He did. He said old granddad.
Old granddad.
Yeah.
Granddad. I
Yep.
said I don't want to linger for a second
Wow.
drink.
I prefer my women without hair on their chest.
Narrow-minded. That's okay.
This is a tough one. This really is. I am going to go with. Dang, this is really, really difficult.
It's a very good last call.
She's a vodka drinker. My wife is in a different country.
I was pretending my wife doesn't exist. Just for
Well, that's probably the
Nelly.
safe. That's probably the
You might want to
safest-
edit that, Derek.
Nelly.
Very good chance our wives are not listening to this podcast.
Someone's popping, by the way.
All right, Dave, answer the question.
You know what? I'll tell you. She's likely a hardcore vodka drinker, so she can handle the old granddad, I'm guessing. So I am going to go the polar opposite route, and I am going to try and sweeten her up with the Jefferson smoothness, and hopefully she will reveal all of her secrets to me. And I mean secrets.
Okay.
Shoe
With
size
that, I'm going to move
included.
on. All right. So I'm kind of I'm going to go with Derek on this one because for the same reason. So I would do the 114 in the hopes of getting information.
Dude, she drinks vodka for breakfast. Old granddad's not going to do anything.
Okay.
And if you pass out first, it's no good.
No bueno.
You never know. So, all right.
Let's just hope there's not a cigar involved.
Yeah, right. That would be bad. That would be bad. That would be double Scarface, right? So,
Scarface.
all right. So anyway, guys, hey, listen, thanks for another great episode. We tasted 3, I'm not going to say good bourbons because I think that it's clear that we don't all agree on that, but we've got the Jeffersons, very small batch. We've got the Jim Beam bourbon whiskey and 114 Old Granddad. All right, guys, we're at the end of the evening. So for those of you out there, if you enjoyed the episode, feel free to check us out on bourbonon.com, subscribe, and also find some great merchandise out there for you or for those that you love. So, gentlemen, it's the end of the night.
You're here.
Thanks again for a great evening, and Bourbon on.
Bourbon on.
Bourbon
boys.
on.
Bourbon on.